Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back? What's up, boxing fans? Welcome back to the channel. So we're going to get straight into this question about Anthony Yarde. Obviously, he's just had the biggest fight of his life against Beterbiev. I don't know why everyone calls him Beterbiev. I'm sure if you look at the way it's spelled, it's Beterbiev. But anyway, I digress. We're not here to go into my own personal linguistical pet peeve with how they say his name. Personally, I think it's Beterbiev, but some people say Beterbiev. I don't know why. But let's go on to what I was going to talk about, which is much more important than that. Is Anthony Yarde world level? Now, it's quite funny because when I first saw him perform against Kovalev to now, the first thought after this last fight that he just had with Beterbiev finished, I was like, of course he's world class. Anthony Yarde is world class. He's the only guy to give Beterbiev so much trouble and, you know, win rounds and make it competitive. And you saw the skill set, you saw the strength. Just like I said in the previous video, I knew that Yarde was going to be one of the only people to kind of almost match him for physical strength, and that might pose a problem in itself, and it did. You know, the speed, the power, it was all there. Even Beterbiev said that, yeah, he was a powerful puncher, and you know, I knew that Yarde was going to put up this kind of opposition, was going to pose this kind of opposition, but does this make him world level? And I was saying, yes, he's world level. And a lot of other people that I know were saying, yes, based on this performance, he's world level. Then I took off my emotional hat because I am an Anthony Yarde fan. Like I said in another video, we're both Londoners. We're both from Hackney. We both have Jamaican parents. Yeah. So obviously I can quite easily be biased. So I wanted to get rid of my bias hat and put on my rational hat and actually look at him and answer the question properly in a rational, reasonable way. Is he really world class? And then when I think about it like that, my answer kind of changes, because I think to be classed as world class, you have to have beaten somebody with a notable name. Yeah, and Yarde hasn't done that yet. You can't just speculate on how good someone is based on how well they lost. You know, I know I'm not a hater, but I'm just having a look at what he's actually done. Now, I'm not saying he hasn't achieved things. He has achieved. He's got some notable wins. Lyndon Arthur is a notable win, but Lyndon Arthur is kind of a Commonwealth level. British level, Commonwealth level is kind of the same level. He hasn't beaten anyone on the world scene yet either. You see, so what a lot of us, I think, are doing is we're kind of speculating, and we're trying to predict how good Anthony Yarde is based on his losses. And that doesn't really work. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work. Because Anthony Yarde could go into a fight with, let's say, Buatsi, and he could lose a close decision. Good fight, but ultimately he could lose. He could go into a fight with Craig Richards, and he could lose a close fight with Richards. Yeah, there's a few people that are there, you know, there or thereabout. You know, Richards and Buatsi are the main people that come to mind. There are some other fighters that are really good at light heavyweight, and you know, Callum Smith, really good fighter, and he could lose a close fight. You know, so after those 3 losses, would we still say he's world level just because it was very close, but he lost? That could easily happen. He could put in an amazing performance against all 3 of those guys and ultimately still lose. Now, he could fight those 3 guys and beat all of them. Then we'd have to say he's world level. Do you see what I mean? So I do feel like, you know, the proof is in the pudding. You do have to beat a world level guy and not just look good against a world level guy. You know, out of those 3 fighters that I spoke about, it is very likely that he would win against all of those guys, but it's also just as likely that he could lose because those guys are more proven because they have wins over better competition. So you have to kind of put these guys above Anthony Yarde until Anthony Yarde beats someone at that level. That's how I kind of see it. But it's a difficult one because I'm not trying to say that you can't spot talent even if someone hasn't fought anyone. There are fighters that you can see are talented before they've fought anyone. There's that new heavyweight that's come along, Carol Atuma, I think his name is. Not many people have seen him, but the people who have seen him say that he's the next best thing. He's amazingly fast, good fundamentals. He looks like an absolute prospect. But has he fought anyone yet? No. So, it depends really. You can see people who have potential and kind of predict where you think they're at in the general landscape of boxing. But sometimes that goes wrong. And if that goes wrong sometimes, if you can be wrong sometimes, then, when are you right and when are you wrong? So I'm kind of against predicting how good Anthony Yarde really is. I personally think he's really good. I don't know if he's world level yet. I think now that he's had his 2 shots at world level, I think he should look at it as a positive thing. He's in those 2 fights, he's gained more experience than he could probably gain in any other, mid-level fight. I think now at 31 or 32, I think now is the time to actually really start the hard work. Personally, I think he should leave his trainer and find a world-class trainer. But if he doesn't do that, I think it's now time to start putting in the hard work. Get the sparring in, because there was rumours that he doesn't spar. Get the sparring in. Start to make these fights at his level. Start to make these fights with people that are on the same level as him. Try to make the Buatsi fight. Try to make the Craig Richards fight. Callum Smith fight. There's a whole load of other people. Aziz fight. This kind of these type of fighters now. Not these world-class people, world elite level, but people who are world-class. But the world elite, I think there's a difference between world-class and world elite. The names I just mentioned are probably world-class. World elite, I think there's 2 fighters that are world elite, and that is Demetrius Bivol and Beterbiev. These people are elite. And personally, I think Bivol beats Beterbiev. I think he beats him personally, but that's for another video. What I don't want to see is Anthony Yarde out for a really long time, doesn't get to fight anyone, and then you hear that they're trying to make a fight with Demetrius Bivol. You know what I mean? You can't just go to the top of the mountain each time. You just can't do that. It doesn't work. We've seen he tried to fight Kovalev with half the experience, and it showed. Although he rocked him and he put in a really good fight, he had a problem with his stamina. He said that he's corrected that, but in the fight with Beterbiev, he still had a problem with his stamina. Now, why do you think that is? It's because he hasn't been fighting and sparring these normal level, these people that are on the same level as him. Because when you fight people that are on the same level, these are the guys that are going to push your stamina. If he had fought a Craig Richards, he could be dominating that fight, and then in the end, end up getting tired and Craig Richards winning. And I think that's something that might happen because Craig Richards is kind of proven. He's fought these guys where he's had to understand how good his stamina has to be. In a fight with Craig Richards, I personally think Craig Richards would turn up the heat when it comes to stamina, and Yarde might start to fail because he hasn't been at that level. And it's just so important. Before you go into a fight with an elite guy, you need your stamina tested by guys that are kind of fringe world level. Otherwise, you go in there with the elite guy and you either get blown out or you lose because of stamina issue. This is what happened to Yarde. Yarde has not been in with a guy that is as fit as Beterbiev. And if he got a fight with Bivol, the same thing would happen. Bivol doesn't get tired. He's an elite fighter. He knows how to hold when he needs to. He knows how to control the distance with the jab. He knows how to do all of that stuff. You can't just jump from a D level, C level straight to an A plus. You know, you can't do that. Yarde has done that twice. I commend him for doing that twice, but I think that's enough now. I think he now needs to get in the trenches and gain that experience from fighting people on his level. And then at some point, he might get a third chance at a world level. And that will be when he's ready to take that world class test. I think he'll be ready for it if he puts in, 2 years of hard work, basically. And that's what I want to see from him now. So, yeah, in answering the question in a roundabout way, I don't think he's world class because I can't read the future and I can't guess or predict how good he should be based on losses at the world level. My inclination, which is what most people are doing, I think that he could possibly be, but I would not make that statement because all the guys who are fringe world level may also beat him since he hasn't really fought them. Let me know what you think. Do you think he's world class? Do you think what I'm saying is nonsense? Do you think that we can say that he's world class now? Do you think that he loses to all the guys that I mentioned? Do you think that he beats all the guys that I mentioned? Who do you think should be his next fight? I'm on to the next one. Man, guess who's back? I said, guess who's back?